All right, it's June. If it's June, it's NYU time, and I got 37 blocks to go to the NYU Hotel Investment Conference. So, should I use Uber, Lyft, a taxi? No. Subway? Well, that'll stink in June. Could brace it and take the bus, but no. I got a new app that lets me order a rickshaw. That's it. I'm going to arrive in style.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. You know how happy I am to have you here each and every week with me. Man, is it great. We are now officially in the summer season, although I know the calendar isn't really actually summer, but we're counting it as summer now that we're past Memorial Day and headed into June. And one of the big things that we have in June is the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference, something we shall be talking about in a moment. But before we do that, I'd love for you to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Be sure to text the word hotel to 66866 right now. I know you're probably on a treadmill, you're driving your car, do whatever you need to do. Pull over to the side of the road, text that word hotel to 66866 and subscribe. And also check out NoVacancyNews.com for all the great stories that are happening in the hotel industry. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this show is brought to you in part, of course, by Duetto, my favorite company out there providing revenue strategy technology. They're a platform that thousands of hotels are out there making money. And if you're not doing it, I think it's time that you ask yourself, why aren't I using the great services by Duetto? Be sure to check out a great interview I did with CEO Patrick Bosworth on the NoVacancyNews.com site. And go check out GetRevenueResults.com. That's GetRevenueResults.com. And oh, by the way, since you're checking out No Vacancy News, go and check on the blueprint for taking business back from the OTAs, which is from the great folks at Duetto. So, today it's all just about me sitting back here, just sharing in the groove. And to do that, I got with me the one and only Mr. Bruce Ford of Lodging Econometrics. Mr. BF, how are you, sir?
Glenn, happy summer. It's been weeks.
It has
been well.
Wow, it's been weeks since I've seen you, since we were last in Las Vegas. And be sure to check out our show from the first week of May when Bruce and I got together and talked about Las Vegas. But today we're going to be looking a little bit ahead. The show comes out on Friday, June 1st. We got the NYU Hospitality Conference coming our way on the evening of June 3rd, June 4th, and June 5th. So, Bruce, it's exciting to me. Summer in New York, big hospitality financial conference. It's our mid-year checkup for what we're thinking we're going to see in the hospitality industry. And I got to tell you, Bruce, I'm getting tired of talking about this kind of stuff because I feel like it's all just good news, good news, good news, good news. Not that I want bad news, but I'd like a little bit of, variance in what's going on in my life. So I have something other than, hey, things are great to talk about. What are you thinking these days?
Well, Glenn, the first measure of temperature that we always take is how many party invitations have you gotten for the NYU conference? I'm up to 7. How about you?
That sounds about right.
That's always the number one barometer, because that means that companies are still feeling like people are spending, and they're still feeling like there's more dollars to capture, and so many of the major hotel companies are out there hosting events while we're in New York for a few nights. So that's a positive aspect of where we are in the industry.
Well,
it's certainly one of the things I look at that's a little bit more
I know, but
sociable.
Right, totally sociable. I love it. The parties are a huge part of the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference as far as I am concerned. And I'm going to be looking at, this is my annual chance to talk about my bellwether of industry health, which is the type of sushi that's served at these events. Last year, when we went to the Hard Rock party where they debuted the Reverb brand, that select service hotel brand that they're trying to get out there, they had the best assortment of sushi I've ever seen, which made sense to me because the industry has been riding high. So the question is, when we go to parties like the one from Caesars, when we go to parties like the one for Sheraton, like the one for Booking.com, will they be able to have that same sushi? And if it is such high quality, does that still mean we are at the top of the market? What's your predictions for how people are going to be feeling, Bruce, at these parties all around town on Monday evening?
Well, certainly the hotel companies that have announced new brands, i.e. Hilton, i.e. Marriott, and i.e. InterContinental, they're doing a lot in the mid-scale space, and I think the mid-scale space in terms of developing the freshest new prototype with all the bells and whistles, as you know, from the airlines to the hotels to many things, even the cars now. There's many things are compacting, getting smaller, okay, and so I think that the efficiency of that is going to have a storyline going forward. So we're going to talk about the big brands introducing new brands and how that impacts the industry as a couple of mid-scale brands obviously beginning to start ramping up significantly in the pipeline. As between the two of them, they have 600 projects in the pipeline, which is significant.
Will we be seeing the debut of any more brands at next week's conference?
Any more brands?
Any more brands?
Well, there's been a long story of Hilton doing a new brand, but we haven't seen it yet.
And this would be a time for them to announce it, wouldn't it?
Well, it would and it wouldn't. I'm not sure the hubbub of New York is where we get new brands. I actually was thinking about it today before the call, and I really can't remember the last new brand that appeared at NYU.
I just said it. I literally just said it. Reverb by Hard Rock Plus. Trump Hotels.
All right, how many of those do they have in the pipeline?
Hey, man, I don't know, but I was also going to say Trump Hotels also did the American Idea, where they've got 3 in the pipeline, all by the same brothers. If they're actually being built, I'm not sure. I only wish I knew somebody that had a key to know what the hotel industry pipeline was all about, Bruce Ford. Are there any? Are there any reverb hotels? Are there any ones
that talking to them?
Yeah, I know. Do you know if there are any reverbs that have actually been announced since then? Because I know that there were some legal entanglements with another major hotel company that have since been settled. But I was curious if they've actually moved ahead and secured any deals.
I don't have any active projects today.
Right. Interesting.
Now, what I would say, Glenn, is the types of brands that you highlighted there are people that are, seeking the stage. Certainly Hard Rock has their Hard Rock, what is really a casino brand that, oh, by the way, we've opened a couple of hotels, okay, where they were trying to do kind of an upscale brand, but I wouldn't call them a global hotel company, okay? And the Trump brand with the Scion and American Ideas, I think, again, close to a global hotel company, but again, going into chain scales where they're not.
Right.
Okay, so both of those were kind of breaching new areas. And I think it's a very different thing than, IHG announcing a new brand. I think you're more likely to hear about some more acquisitions, and of course we had another one last week, Glenn. Pebblebrook and LaSalle Hotel Properties have been dancing around an acquisition for a while, and then Blackstone came in with an all-cash offer to swoop up LaSalle Hotel Properties, which is a publicly traded REIT.
Right.
I'm sure you heard about that.
I did hear about that, but then you got me thinking about Blackstone. They've finally divested the last bit of stock they had in Hilton, and boy, what did they do? Triple their investment on that?
A little bit more than double.
A little bit more than double.
And certainly in an environment where many people's opinion was they overpaid.
Right.
So, good for them.
Yeah.
But they almost announced that out of one corner of their mouth, and then out of the other corner, they went, oh, by the way, we're back in.
Right.
They bought another company.
Right. Yeah, these guys, it's unbelievable the amount of investment that they're making. And I'm thinking, and we're going to get into some of the pipeline talk, of course, because God forbid I have Bruce Ford on the phone and don't talk about pipeline here. But before we get into that, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the industry fundamentals are solid. There's no reason why construction pipeline won't continue to be healthy, and I think overall people are just going to be, super duper content and thrilled.
I think people would like to find more value in hotel acquisitions today. I think I've begun translating the speak of hotel buyers that are interested in buying hotels, so they say there are no deals out there.
Right.
I don't think that that's the case anymore. I think there are deals out there. I just don't think they like any of them. At this point, it's hard to find below replacement cost valuation on hotels because, well, just we're on an 8-year operating performance run the last time I checked. So, I mean, it's, really unprecedented valuations on the hotels. And we are beginning to see interest rates tick up a little bit. So certainly that's going to have an impact, but it hasn't closed the lending window. We still very much have seen construction starts continue to tick along. We do have more than 205,000 rooms under construction in the United States, and We've maintained that level for a while. We've maintained the openings level for a while, we're definitely going to see more openings this year than last, and we will see more openings next year than this year, and we will see more openings in 2020 than we have in the past 2 years. So the pipeline is scheduled to begin to empty, but these new brands from Hilton and new brands from IHG are going to keep filling up the pipeline too.
When you say new brands from Hilton, do you mean True or one that we have yet to see make its grand debut?
Well, certainly True and certainly Tapestry, but also, it's now been 5 years for Home 2 Suites, and we talked about that's about the same amount of time as Virgin. And Home 2, as I pointed out to you a little bit earlier, Glenn, as we were kind of looking at some of those extended stay numbers, Home 2's pipeline has more rooms and more projects than any other brand at Hilton right now, with 377 new construction projects, almost 40,000 guest rooms.
Yeah, and here's the thing when I see a number like that. I mean, people say, wow, that means it's a great brand, but that also, I think, tells me, and I think this is the bigger picture, not to say anything negative about the brand, I don't have anything to say about that, but it seems to me that part of the reason why it's the number one brand is because, in a way, it's a newer brand that's now got some legs behind it, and there's lots of open places to build it. You're not going to see something like that with a Hampton Inn simply because there's so many of them already. So I think that's part of it. Plus, I think you add in the fact that I've been a big believer in touting it here on this podcast for the last 2 years that the extended stay market has really, really been just tremendously taking off.
Well, let me give you some perspective on that quotation,
Yep.
Glenn. So you said there's some more room to grow, okay? So Today, we only have 2 brands that are classified as extended stay that have more than 500 locations.
Wow.
And those 2 brands are Residence Inn, that has 736 open hotels.
Mm-hmm.
They have 200 in the pipeline,
mm-hmm.
okay? And then we have Extended Stay America, which was a company-built brand that has been cycling through some renovations on their projects and currently have 529 open, which I'm guessing we're going to have some announcements from Extended Stay America very soon about their new franchise locations.
Yeah, well, speaking of Extended Stay America, I've got their CEO, Jonathan Halkyard. I'm planning on doing a podcast with him during the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference, so you'll be sure, all of you guys, to hear that when I do run that interview. And also, on last week's show, I had a chance to speak with Jim Alderman, who runs all the franchising for them. So if you want to learn all about it, check that out. Sorry to interrupt you, Bruce. Continue now.
No, and I know that Extended Stay has some exciting things to tell us out there in the marketplace with their new prototype design, and I also know that they're still pruning some of the portfolio. They'd like to still dispose of some of those corporately owned assets and take back franchise agreements.
Yep.
So as we continue to go forward on that, certainly there'll be a lot to talk about. So those would be very interesting interviews, Glenn. I'm excited to hear about that. But as we look at Home 2, so they have 211 open Home 2s, okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And 377 in the pipeline.
Woo. That's tremendous.
Okay. Now, the only other brands that really approach that kind of 200 number is we have Homewood Suites has about just under 450 of those that are open,
mm-hmm.
okay? And we have about 330 town places, okay, and about 375 Candlewoods.
Right.
Okay. And then about 225 Wood Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you talk about extended stay, okay, you have an existing supply for extended stay hotel rooms at about 428,186 is what we're tracking right now. So about 3,850 properties.
Wow.
And about 428,000 guest rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to expand in 2018 and open almost 34,000 new guest rooms.
Wow.
Which is an expansion of about 8%, Glenn.
That's huge a number in 1 year.
3 times faster than the general overall industry that's scheduled to grow at 2.5.
Wow. Now, it's great. It's great that you're adding some real figures to the anecdotal evidence that I've been giving over this last year about what a great segment it is. Customers have really figured out how terrific it is over the last few years, and the hotel companies are responding by providing some great products and opportunities for hoteliers to cash in on what I see as a very long-term trend that's developing over here.
Right, and Choice's acquisition of Woodspring and the transference of the Knights Inn brand, I think really speaks to we're going to see some more activity in the economy extended stay or the lower tier extended stay coming soon.
Yeah,
okay,
my place is
would
doing a
not be
great job.
surprised to see some more activity.
Yeah, my place is doing a great job with that. I mean, they've burst onto the scene in the last year or so. They got 40 open as of this past week. What do you have here in terms of the pipeline for them? It looks like they've got a number of hotels in the pipeline right now. That should be opening this year.
Yeah, my place is expanding, albeit not as rapidly. Okay, but for them to open 4 or 5 hotels a year, that's 10% growth.
Well, I was going to say, it may not be the raw numbers of a company such as Hilton has behind it, but they've got a much larger infrastructure and a capability set in order to deliver that much higher percent of properties that are opening. So it makes sense to me that it's less. It's just on a percentage growth. It's to me completely astounding.
I agree. So in terms of where we're headed, extended stay is definitely a continued story. It has impact on a number of the stories out there. The first is shared site developments,
right,
which we've talked about, Glenn, where we have 1,000 projects that are involved in a multiple branding in a single location that we're tracking here at Lodging Econometrics, as well as the growth in extended stay being roughly 3 times as fast as the overall industry. And I think, we would see that based upon rate too, as, many of these extended stay brands can command a premium in the marketplace for 2, 3, 4 night stays compared to other select service brands.
That's really interesting to me. But what about when we talk about the other big trend that seems to have been coming along? It's been 10 years now, I think, since the first soft brands really debuted in the business. And they seem to me, them and collection brands seem to also be a major point of focus for the big hospitality companies.
So soft brand is kind of like, you can keep your hotel as it is as long as it remains of a certain chain scale class and a certain star quality. You can feel like that hotel is yours, but we'd like to bring it into our reservation system. So soft brands is really kind of built around the big guys, the
right,
Hiltons, the Marriotts, the IHGs, the Best Westerns, the Hyatts, okay, where they have tens of millions of people in their reservation systems,
right,
okay, and they can offer a hotel location something that smaller reservation systems cannot. Okay, so today, in quote tracking what's happening here, okay, it's pretty amazing that Ascend, and we'll quote wrong, but I think 2002 is the year that Ascend started. Am I close?
I think it was after that. I do think it was about 10 years ago, if I can recall back to last month when I was in Vegas at their annual conference and talking about it. So somewhere around
2008 then?
Yeah, let's say that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they have 150 locations now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And their average size of hotel is about 85 keys. So they're on a very nice upscale, but more small properties.
Right.
Okay. Not all urban center.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they lead the pack in terms of number of hotels, not in terms of number of rooms, but in terms of number of hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And they have an active pipeline that will open about 13 new ones this year, and maybe 15 more in conversions. So they have about 30 they'll add this year on top of the 150 they have open.
Terrific. And I can confirm it was 2008 that it made its debut. I checked it on the...
Glenn, you nailed it.
I did. I nailed it on the interwebs. I know. It's amazing when my memory actually works right. What I do is, I may have said this before, but now that I'm getting older, if I think something is 2 years ago, I say it was 5 years ago. If I think something is 5 years ago, it's probably 10 years ago. And then it usually works out okay.
Is that called fuzzy math?
No, I think it's getting old. It's what it is.
And we'll go with Glenn math.
Yeah.
Don't forget that's two N's, ladies and gentlemen.
Or glath, as I like to call it. But go on.
Anyway, so I think when people brought out these soft brands, okay, some of the expectation that was built up around them was that we would really be picking up existing hotels and converting them.
Right.
Okay, and certainly there's a percentage of that, but I think sitting here at 10 years after the soft brands kind of starting, that isn't really the case. Okay, and this year, okay, Marriott with the Autograph collection as an example, and adding that up, we have 80 existing autographs out there in the United States. Okay, their average size of hotel much bigger. Close to just over 200 rooms per hotel. And they have 8 active conversions going on, 22 new ones under construction.
Wow.
So they'll probably open somewhere in the 22, 23 this year, something like that. And, that'll be obviously very nice growth, about 20% on the brand, even a little bit more than that. And Hilton with the Curio, 34 existing Curios, and they have 13 of those under construction and about 5 more conversions coming in. So they'll be in the 10-11 range this year. Mm-hmm. And of course, Hilton also has the mid-scale brand, upper mid-scale brand called Tapestry by Hilton that has some projects in the pipeline. But again, nothing overwhelming there. They got 6 Tapestries open and about 13 in the pipeline. So not the hundreds and hundreds that you're seeing with the announcements of the new brands at the True and Avid hotel level. So good growth.
When you're at the True,
but on the full service side.
But when I see the True and the Avid level, it's a much more affordable entry point. There's a lot more markets, I think, that are not just available to take those, but are appropriate for the hotels that are built at that particular price point, looking for that particular dollar amount.
Different kinds of development.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for simplifying what I said. Very complicated.
Right, and you're going to do those in different locations. Okay, and you're also going to do many of those in kind of more suburban highway locations, if you will.
That's right.
And I know we were. Just for the point of everybody's understanding, we wanted to get the numbers out there for what is the pipeline for True right now. And we got True at 288 projects for new construction today. And we have the Avid brand at about 93, which keeps going up.
Yeah.
So, between the two of them, they're impressive growth in the pipeline. And going to keep going up, okay? And it will drive some of the pipeline, albeit these hotels are smaller. So, In terms of new construction, Glenn, if you're a hotel owner, you should be evaluating the market around you in terms of what's new construction that's coming. If you have a branded hotel, you should be looking at the brand and the whole portfolio of the franchise company and what impact that may have on you. If you have an urban center hotel, you should be making sure that you're pushing the rate as hard as you can. We're not pushing occupancy today. We want to be pushing rate because it offers better results on the bottom line. If you're running at 85% occupancy, you're probably not charging enough. So in many cases, you need to be looking to push the rate. And I feel like in today's marketplace, Glenn, if it was $229 early in the year and now it's $249, I'd just rather it be $249 rather than saying we're going to charge you $10 to use the pool and $15 to use the fitness center, and now the Wi-Fi is $8 a day.
Well, yeah, I find that annoying and highly offensive. It really bothers the heck out of me, those kinds of fees. But if you do want to increase your revenue, hey, don't forget to check out Duetto, getrevenueresults.com. Thought I'd just throw that in there since we're talking about that particular subject. So, Bruce, before we wrap up today, anything that you're looking forward to more than anything else when we hit that NYU Hospitality Investment Conference, of course, other than getting to hang out with me a little bit?
Well, we're going to do that?
Yeah.
You're going to talk to me again? Okay,
well, you know, I feel like this call went well, so, you know, you're back on, buddy.
All right. I think deal making is really going to be the topic of conversation. I expect more portfolios to continue to transfer. I think where the value is in the acquisition market today is buying more than one hotel at a time.
Right.
The hotels that are transferring one at a time today are really hotels at very, very peak valuations. I think owners want to dig in a little bit. I think they want to feel like they are buying a hotel that needs some repositioning and repolishing. And I think you got to go portfolios to really see that. And I think some of what you see in these large portfolio takedowns is then a trimming of the portfolio, and some of those hotels are what we'd call valued investments. So I would think that, and of course we know about more than a few portfolios that are on the marketplace today, and it's not that there aren't deals; it's we got to find more that we like, right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And if you want to get together and hang out, anybody that's out there and you're going to be at the NYU Hospitality Investment Conference, just come check me out. I'm going to be hosting a panel called The Continuing Relevance of Boutique Hotels on Monday, June 4th at 4 o'clock p.m. on the 5th floor in the Imperial Juilliard Room. And don't come for me because, you know, whatever, I suck, but my panelists are amazing. I've got Mike Diedemeyer, the president and CEO of Interstate Hotels and Resorts. I've got Hitesh Patel, the chairman of AHOA. I've got Jay Stein, the CEO of Dream Hotel Group. I've got Todd G. Wynn Parry, EVP Global Acquisitions and Development of Two Roads Hospitality, and Miss Amy Holbert, VP Boutique and Upscale Brands with Best Western Hotels and Resorts. I know that is going to be an amazing, amazing discussion.
Boy, I might have to come to that one, Glenn.
I know, right? It's going to be pretty good. I hope to, get some great information out of that particular one. And, I've already got Jay Stein scheduled for a podcast while I'm there, and we're going to be talking to HP right after that podcast ends, after the thing ends, to do a little podcast with him. And Mike, if you're listening right now, still trying to get an interview with you, and of course I've got, I'm going to try to tee up Amy and Todd all to do individual interviews with them for this podcast. And Bruce, speaking of this podcast, this show represents 2 full years since the No Vacancy podcast debuted just prior to the NYU Hospitality Conference in 2016. So that's pretty exciting.
Very exciting, Glenn. Congratulations. The No Vacancy news continues to take off and make great strides in the industry, and I congratulate all your efforts.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. And Bruce, before we wrap up, got to get a shameless plug out of you. How can people find you? How can people connect with the one and only Bruce Ford?
So BFINNH on Twitter, as well as following Lodging Econometrics on LinkedIn. We are constantly posting the new insights from the system. And, of course, we're going to be at NYU as well. My brother JP, myself, and Tom O'Gorman, who works for Lodging Econometrics as well. Be happy to show you the power of our new database app platform, which is down to an app-based solution now and get the tools to learn a little bit about new construction pipeline, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, seriously, go up to Bruce and challenge him. Go say, hey, Bruce, do you know about, and the name any hotel in the world. He'll pull it up on the app, and he can tell you anything you want to know about it. The touch of a couple of buttons, pretty impressive technology.
And not only can you challenge me one-on-one, but challenge your sales team for how you can grow too.
Excellent. I love it. Great shameless plugs, and I want to thank you guys all for listening. Now, after the commercial break, I've got an incredible interview with the one and only CEO of Red Lion Hotel Corporation, Mr. Greg Mountain. I think you're going to like that particular interview. Really interesting, and we talk a lot more about his personal life as well as his business experience, so you'll get to learn about the company, learn about what motivates him, and learn how to be a successful person and become a CEO. So this has all been wonderful, but now I'm on my way. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Glenn Hausman, and you know me from the No Vacancy podcast, but I have got an all-new show coming, and I'm partnering up with the #1 guy in hospitality, Mr. Anthony Melchiori.
Now, it's called the yin and yang of hospitality.
That's right.
So I need to know going forward, because I'm a control freak, am I yin or yang?
I'm definitely the one that starts with Y, and you could be whichever one you want to be.
I'll be the one that starts with Y.
All right, so you're going to have more great banter just like this every single episode on the yin and yang of hospitality, found wherever your favorite podcasts are available. Any final thoughts?
Yes, I'm yang.
All right, I'm Ying. Thanks for listening.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. I'm excited to have you here. And I think, look, I love you guys, but I think I'm a little bit more excited today because I have Greg Mountain. He's the president and chief executive officer, CEO. You'd think it's the first time I'm saying those kind of words, of RLH Corporation. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. It's great to speak with you, Glenn. I was looking forward to speaking with you when we were at AHOA, and unfortunately couldn't be there in person. But I know that you and everyone had a blast. So
well, we certainly. I would have said I would have had a blast, but not having you there, Greg, really just it just made me sad. I couldn't get it together the entire trip. But thank goodness I have you here with me today, so we could make up for that. I do want to tell the audience, as we're recording this, I'm recording this on the morning of April 5th, and yesterday, April 4th, you guys had some big news. You acquired the Knights Inn brand from Wyndham. Congratulations. Curious to hear all about that one.
Yeah, no, we're and thank you. We're very excited about it. You know, the Knights Inn brand has a long heritage. It's a well-recognized brand. We see it as a great opportunity and fitting well within our organization and kind of our strata of brands. We're excited to bring some of our technology as well as our Hello Rewards and other things that we bring to the table that we think fit well for the Knights Inn owners and the brand overall. Our digital people are exceptionally excited to begin to promote this brand, and I think you'll see us really do what we've done with all of our brands, which is really kind of reposition them, dust them off, make them exciting and relevant to what's going on in the world, and get out there and promote them. So for us, it's an exciting opportunity on the actual mechanics of the deal.
Yep.
We feel good. We got good pricing on it and an attractive multiple, and so it's going to be a good long-term acquisition for us.
Good. I believe I saw the price at $27 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, the price is $27 million. We've talked about EBITDA north of $3 million, which would put it to about a 7 to 9 multiple. Which, if you think about where acquisitions have been in our space here recently, at 12, 13, 14, 15 times, we feel good about it, and it moves us up to 1,500 hotels. And if you think about that, Glenn, when we first started talking about 4 years ago, we were 55 hotels in 8 states. So
it's really unbelievable. I'm laughing here because it's been such a tremendous journey for you folks. Now, for those of you who are listening and aren't familiar with Greg Mount and what's been happening over at RLH Corporation, he was brought in January 2014 with his team, folks such as Bill Linehan, who serves as the Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer, and really just kind of transformed the entire company. You started basically with all of the systems, and then you started going on an acquisition tear. You've been at it now for a little more than 4 years. What has this journey been like for you? And then I want to get back to talking about Nights Inn and how it fits in with everything. So tell me a little bit about what it's been like for you coming on with that brand, with the changing even the name of the company, fundamentally everything about the organization. What has that process been like?
Yeah, Glenn, it's been just a pure joy for all of us. All of us get an opportunity once in life to do something, really meaningful. And for myself and Bill and other executives in the company, we had an opportunity to take a 40-plus-year-old, heritage kind of company and brand and really reposition it and take all of the knowledge and expertise that we've all gained over the years with phenomenal companies like Marriott and Starwood, et cetera, and really kind of build something from the ground up. And so we've taken that approach and we feel that we've accomplished a lot of the goals that we set out to accomplish, and the growth trajectory is strong and the success has been great. But I think the most important thing for all of us is we've gotten to do it the way that we felt it needed to be done. And it's a very rare opportunity to be able to do that in your career. And so for all of us, it's just been fantastic.
Yeah, Greg, you mentioned Starwood, and I hadn't really thought about it, but I feel like this company that you're running now is following that same sort of trajectory. Start with one brand that you felt had potential, then start to buy other brands and create new brands to layer on top of that. You think that's a fair assessment? Not in the how it's going out, but not in the terms of the deal machinations and stuff like that, but in terms of the same sort of philosophy and spirit that's behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a number of us who lead this organization, really cut our teeth during the heydays of Starwood as it really kind of evolved into what it became. And a lot of what we learned about branding, a lot of what we learned about, the consumer and what they're looking for, and not following, the course or the path that everyone else follows, but follow the path that we really think is relevant to what's happening in the marketplace. And those are kind of the ethos of Starwood and what Barry Sterling really brought to the company. And to provide differentiation, to bring people in, from other industries and utilize their skills. And he was always very good at that. And we learned a lot of valuable lessons from him and what he built. And so to answer your question, yeah, I mean, we may not be emulating it directly in the same brands or segments, but we're emulating it based on really kind of the positioning, the cultural norms, the commitment to building something that's relevant versus just copying everybody else.
Right, and I would argue creating a very here and now relevant company that's looking to outfox some of the competition out there. So, Greg, let me ask you about that Nights Inn acquisition. How does it fit in when you already have America's Best Value Inn, for example? How do they complement each other or kind of work with it akin to each other?
Yeah, it's a great question. We feel on a couple fronts. One is that there is distinctly a Nights Inn consumer and an America's Best Value Inn consumer, and while I think there are some similarities, we really feel that we can position the two brands distinctly based on their heritage and really kind of the touch points that are important to them. That being said, we've worked really hard to build a platform that's responsive, to the economy segment and really looked at it through a more creative lens. I mean, as you know, we rolled out the Signature brand, and a lot of the things that we do that are innovative and really focused on the economy segment, we're going to impute into both the ABVIs and the Nights In. And we think that that's really important. And I think you're going to see us, as I said before, we're going to really, focus on the heritage of those brands, but bringing them to a more relevant space to today's consumer. And frankly, not taking the economy consumer for granted. Really providing them an experience that matches their expectations and their needs, and to some degree is aspirational for them. You don't have to stay in an upscale hotel or a luxury hotel to create some aspiration, and I think that's what you're going to see.
Yeah, I've seen other brands that focus within the economy segment try to bring some more of that style, appeal, and feeling of other industry segments. So it's fun to see that you're going to be focused on that particular initiative as well. But I also am curious as to what is it about the economy segment that you as a public company is interested in, when I get the overall feeling that so many other companies were starting to eschew it? I mean, it started with about 18 months ago with the Vantage acquisition, which brought in America's Best Value Inn, Canada's Best Value Inn, that signature brand that we just mentioned. So what is it that you love about being able to play in this segment and the opportunity that you see that others might be ignoring?
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, we feel that a large portion of the rooms that are booked in the United States are booked in that segment, and a large portion of the owners, which really you could equate to them being small business owners, which I think are important to the overall economy of the U.S. I mean, a lot of great things reside in this segment, and we've really seen it as an opportunity similar to what we've done with our Hotel RL in the upscale space to say, look, this is an opportunity to kind of reinvent the space and position it in a way that has never been positioned before. And we see the economy space as having that opportunity. And so that attracts us. But don't misunderstand the message. At the same time,
yes,
we're very focused on our mid-scale and upscale, our pipelines. And I know everyone talks about their pipelines, but when you think about the deal that we just executed a month or so ago with Inner Circle, where we brought over 10, full service, large box hotels throughout America, that's a big part of our strategy and where we're going. And I think you're going to see many more of those.
Absolutely, and I do want to talk about that particular strategy, but I have to compliment you first on your CEO pivot. I like how you move very seamlessly to the next topic. Makes my job a lot easier. I thought it was interesting because I had the opportunity to stay at the first Hotel RL, for example, that you opened in Baltimore, and I thought that was a unique and interesting direction for the company. And then I was surprised with the Vantage acquisition to see you trying to look at other strata within the market. So how does the boutique brands and the more mid-scale brands really fit into your overall philosophy of having hotels within all different price points and psychographic markers for customers?
Yeah, look, I think that it's interesting. The economy space for us has really been a great opportunity, as we just talked about, to do a number of things and then really add ubiquity and scale to the system. And you also see a number of owners who are in the economy space, aren't like their fathers or their grandfathers or grandmothers. They're looking for, they've graduated from Cornell and UNLV and Michigan State and other great universities, and they really have a different aspiration. And so part of what we've tried to create in Hotel RL is the ability for, those owners to transition, to brands that fit more of their lifestyle and where they want to go. And so we're seeing some really great activity in that space. I will say that Hotel RL has really resonated very well with the communities it's in. I mean, we're working directly with Apple and DirecTV and Look TV and a number of other organizations out there, regarding the living stage. It's really kind of taken a life of its own and really accomplished what we wanted to accomplish, which was to bring the community back into the lobby of the hotel. And so for us, we really see it as a differentiation point in that
Absolutely.
upscale segment. And you know what, we're driving very competitive demand, and these hotels are competing well and having a great online reputation. We just rolled out our app, which gives full integration from reservation to check-in to mobile key to virtual concierge to all the things that are important. And the great thing about it, Glenn, is unlike others, it actually works. So people are using it, and that's what it's intended for. It's not just there to be some eye candy and hope that when you go out to check in that you actually can check in or actually use it as a key. It actually does work.
No, that the eye candy is at Hotel RL, as far as I'm concerned, are those amazing mustaches that your baristas have in the lobbies. I love that. To me, Greg, I think that the whole idea of the living stage was a phenomenal breakthrough. I thought it was a real great move to mirror exactly what you said and to parrot back what you said, so I could sound intelligent with the whole idea of bringing that community within the hotel, because no longer are hotels facing outward to the community. They want the community to come into them in a meaningful way, and creating things like the living stage with different entertainment and opportunities and TED Talk style of events really helps bring in people, sell that food, sell the snacks, sell the coffee, sell the alcohol, all of that kind of stuff. I love it. Anything interesting happening right now with this deal that you said you have with some of these outside organizations to help, with like DirecTV, to help drive more folks to come into the lobby and spend their money?
Yeah, look, I think that what we're seeing with it is two things that are really, just phenomenal outputs. And I think that you'll understand these very clearly, particularly given the business that you're in, is the content that's coming from these living stages is phenomenal. When you look at the imagery that's on the living stage, from the calendars to the content of upcoming, guests that are on stage, it's just simply phenomenal. And all of the imagery used in the Hotel RL, from its website to its collateral and advertising, is all from live content. And it's just spectacular. The other thing is that each individual who comes in for a living stage appointment in the lobby, gets their own microsite. So we're actually helping promote these people. We're giving them a platform to promote themselves, and what they're doing is they're out there promoting it to their community and their friends on social media, and driving significant traffic into the hotel to be there to see their particular discussion or show or whatever it might be. And so it does create a business for the hotel that you typically wouldn't get, and drives just an amazing lobby experience. I mean, we're not out there trying to, create animation and I'll use the current term, in a fake way. It's creating animation in the lobby in a very real way, and some of the topics are pretty relevant and pretty top of mind of everybody and in their communities, and it creates great dialogue, and I think it provides an opportunity to have dialogue with people that may have differing opinions in an environment that's conducive to do that. So in today's world, we see that as a real positive.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I certainly like the approach that you're taking, where I think a lot of your competitors out there are very focused on trying to get the guest in the room to just come downstairs and hang out and have a beer and get some work done. I think you're taking it beyond that and trying to invite everybody from the community within, which I think is the more the better way to create profits for your property owners.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, in a number of our hotel RLs, a lot of the local politicians are using living stages. You get a lot of the,
that's great.
Just a whole wide diversion of people that are trying to bring their message. And that kind of content is extremely valuable and extremely creating a lot of interest from Apple TV and DirecTV and others who are out there.
That's pretty cool. So if you have a lot of politicians coming, one unsolicited thought, the way politics is going right now, you might be able to sell stale fruits and vegetables so they could toss them at the politicians without the that disagree. I think that's a profit center in the making. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a commentator. So Signature brand, I love the new look and the new logo, the new feel that you're going for. I had a chance while I was at the AHOA conference the week before we recorded this to speak with Mr. Roger Bloss. So I know it's his baby, and he's serving now as President Global Development. We talked a little bit about that, but I'm curious as to see how you are thinking about the future of this brand and what it means for those hotels that everyone used to deem irrelevant, but now have a possibility to come back to life in a fun, exciting way.
Yeah, I am so excited about this. You talked a little bit earlier about my background and kind of being there and Starwood during the days of the evolution of W and the repositioning of Westin and all the things that were done. Signature really comes from that mold in the sense that it's taking dated, forgotten assets that are in good locations and make them relevant again. And it's really doing it in a very economical way, and it's making it fun for the owner and for the guest. And we're seeing, some really great assets that are going to be announced here in the near future. San Francisco was recently announced, and I think you'll see a number of others like that coming forward here pretty quickly. But we see it as a great opportunity. I mean, look, you could go out now to a Signature hotel. You can go out on Wayfair, right?
Yep.
And order your FF&E. So, we're looking at this as really through a lens of an owner and saying, gee, do I want to spend, 8 to 10 weeks of working in lead time and warehousing and all the things I got to go through? Or do I want to go to a Wayfair online, order my FF&E, and have it drop shipped at my hotel?
Huh.
So
that's an interesting idea, but of course, I'm having a hard time hearing what you're saying because now I have that dang Wayfair song in my head. That commercial is on the news channels all day long.
As long as you're not dancing too, we're okay, right?
Yes,
you're not dancing.
Exactly. I haven't done the move where I drop my phone and try to impress my wife, and they don't show after the clip is where you have to run to the fix-it screen store to repair it, and she's shaking her head no at you. That's going to be my sequel for the commercial. All right. So I also love Signature because you're sharing that same heyday aesthetic that I have here at the NoVacancyNews.com site and the No Vacancy podcast. So I'm immediately a sucker for all of that. I do want to talk to you a little bit about what drives you as CEO, but I want to make sure that we talk about some of these other brands too. Our Hotel RH and America's Best Value Inn and Signature, they're getting all the headlines, but maybe you could give us a quick thought on what some of the other brands are doing, like Lexington, Settle Inn, Country Hearth, Guest House, and Jameson.
Yeah. Look, the ones that our Red Lion brands, the Red Lion Inn and Suites are really the bulk of what you're seeing as it relates to new agreements and conversions. These hotels have been repositioned and are very, very successful and growing at a very good rapid pace. I think our franchisee, which, as you know, was the first to roll out the ability to completely secure a franchise on your mobile phone, is doing very well and tied to the Country Hearth brand. Our owners at Lexington are continuing to move into some of the other suite of brands that we have, and we'll continue that over this year. So a lot of exciting things from the brand sides, and something that we're exceptionally thrilled and proud about.
All right, so I'm going to read between the lines to say you're going to put a lot of the emphasis on Hotel RL, the Red Lion brands, ABVI, your newest acquisition, and Signature. We'll kind of leave it at that and let people kind of wonder. But I got to know from you, Greg, I think we all grew up saying, hey, we're going to be, astronauts or doctors or firemen or police officers. When did you say, hey, I'm going to grow up and be a CEO? At what point does that come into your mind?
That's a great question. I was telling someone the other day, I sometimes feel like the dog that caught the bumper.
Yeah.
Look, I think that when I go back to my career in the hotels, and I came up through food and beverage and was working for Marriott early in my career for a number of years and got a great education with that company. My aspiration was to be a GM.
Right.
You kind of looked at it and said, God, the end to be all would be to be a GM. And I'll tell you, there are days when I say, God, I wish I could just go back and be a GM because I had a great time.
Yeah.
But it really, when I was able to combine my hotel operations along with the real estate side of it, it really provided some clarity on the total kind of cycle of a hotel, being from operations to real estate, and all of the things in between. And so it just kind of evolved from there. And really one of the great things for me was just, kind of being able to be in the right place at the right time and kind of taking on an opportunity. And while, being the CEO has some really great aspects to it, it's also, I think one of the harder jobs out there. And I don't know that I ever gave, or I don't know if people really kind of provide some recognition or credit to the fact that folks in these roles, do make a lot of tough decisions and work a lot of long hours, and there's a lot to it. A big responsibility. You have thousands of people that are relying upon you to make the right decision, and so I think it's not for everyone. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I love working with people that I want to work with, and so it's one of those things that evolved, and I was very fortunate and lucky to be able to take on.
That's a great answer, and I would encourage all of my listeners to go check out the Freakonomics podcast, which recently did a series on the life of a CEO, so you could really understand that they're really not hanging out at golf courses. It's really a 7-day-a-week job, 24 hours a day. You're living, you're breathing it. So how do you keep yourself, Greg, then focused on your job? You've got to have downtime in order to recharge. So when was the last time you went on vacation? Where'd you go? And, how do you step away so you could step back and be more refreshed?
That's a great question, and it's probably one of the areas that I need to do better at.
Well, I need to do better at it, so I'm hoping you're going to be able to share that advice with me.
I wish. Look, I am real fortunate. I have some really great kids, and my oldest son is a professional race car driver, and so we spend a fair amount of time when we get windows, at the racetracks with him all over the world, and so. That's, it makes for a long travel week when you travel all week for work and then you get on another plane on the weekend to go to a race. But it's a great way to shut down and focus on something that's, completely opposite from what we do. So that's probably it. But I will tell you that I am longing for, a pool and a lounge chair and a cocktail and a view of a beach. That's one of those vacations that for me are fantastic. So not in the too distant future, I think I'll be going to one of those.
Excellent. Well, I hope you do get to achieve that. Now, there's one more question that I had based on what you said. You said a lot of it is about being, when you get to be a CEO and on that journey, being in the right place at the right time. How do you recognize you're in the right place at the right time and don't let opportunity pass you by?
I think, Glenn, that you have to be comfortable and confident in your own skin, right? And you have to be willing to step up and take some risk. And I was talking with someone the other day. I can remember when I first started in the hotel industry. I was making less than the dishwasher,
right?
As a manager, right? And I remember a very smart person told me. They said, we realize that, but your potential is far greater. And I think that when you look at it, you've got to be aspirational, and you've got to say, there's no reason I can't do that. And I think you got to raise your hand,
right?
And again, be confident in yourself, and put yourself in a position to be able to raise your hand. I think those are two real important things.
Yeah, one of my mantras is get out of your comfort zone, because that's the only place where real growth happens. I think that's kind of what you're saying. Take on opportunities that might not make you feel good, but are good for you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Any other advice you would give to the younger folks coming up through the ranks right now that hope to achieve what you have?
Yeah, it's really a great question, and I love mentoring young executives as they come up, and we have a program here in our company where we're specifically mentoring women in our organization to move up and become key executives of the company or with other companies. And I think that the one thing that you find with people is that you have to be prepared to speak up to what you're passionate about. You have to have knowledge of what you're speaking of. If you have to have PowerPoints to talk about it, you probably don't know it.
Yep.
And at the same time, you need to know when to agree to disagree and move on and execute something. So I think again, it's really being comfortable and confident in your own skin and being passionate about what you do and having a good knowledge base.
And then I think
those are things that are really great there.
And then I think you alluded to one more element of it. Learn how to get along with other people in a way that gets them on your side, even if you disagree with them, as opposed to create more friction for yourself in the workplace, which could stop your ability to grow within an organization.
Absolutely. You're not going to agree with every decision, but a good executive executes it anyway, and I think people see that.
Excellent. I think we're just about ready to wrap up this conversation, unless I've left off some major business points about what's happening at RLH Corporation. Typically, I would talk about RevPAC, but I've done that, and you can hear that in my Roger Bloss interview for those listening who want to hear more about RevPAC. That's all about the Red Lines technology. I've spoken with Bill Linehan about that in the past, so we have that in our archive. So other than that particular issue, anything else that you think we didn't address here that we should?
No, I just want to say thank you to you and congratulate you on the No Vacancy podcast and all the things you do for the industry. It's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite conversations. You're obviously one of my favorite leaders on panels because I think you make it interesting. And so thank you for doing this for all of us. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. And how about a shameless plug? How can folks find you if they want to either stay at a Red Line Hotel or, better yet, develop one from the RLH Corporation?
RLHco.com. Reach out to us, and we'd love to talk to you.
Beautiful. That was quick. That was fast. And I want to thank Greg Mount for being here today. It was great talking with you, and I want to thank all of you guys for listening today. And I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to go get a career at a hotel company and dream about being a CEO. Guys, I'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.